Hey guys, Mr. Govey here. So you remember that super fun thing you used to do with your friends back in elementary or middle school? Long division. Super fun. Uh, we're going to do something related to that today because we are going to talk about how to divide polynomials. And the way we're going to do it is using long division. That's really similar to that long division you did back with numbers in elementary or middle school. Okay? So I wanted to just start out by recapping how you actually do long division because the process we're going to use today is very similar. Okay, so if we wanted to do 312 divided by 21, we'd write it 21, 312 there. We'd say how many times does 21 go into 3? 0. How many times does 21 go into 31? It goes in 1 time. We do 21 times 1 to get 21. Then we'd subtract down. We'd get 102. And then we'd ask ourselves the same question. How many times does 21 go into 102? Well, it goes in 4 times. Doesn't go in a 5th time, that'd be too much. We do 21 times 4, we get 84. Again, we subtract down, and we'd get 18. How many times does 21 go into 18? Well, that's smaller than 21, so we are done. So we'd write our answer a couple of ways. You could write it as 14, that's our answer, with the remainder of 18. Or another way you could write it would be 14 and 18 21st. So you could write it as a mixed number like that also, or you could write it like that. Okay? I'll go over one more long division with you, and then I'll let you try one, and then I want to talk about polynomial long division. Okay, so how many times does 8 go into 2,432? How many times does it go into 2? 0. How many times does it go into 24? 3 times. 8 times 3 is 24. Subtract. We'd get 32. Notice that here we kind of skipped a place. So we need to ask how many times does 8 go into 3? 0. Then we can ask the question, how many times does 8 go into 32? It goes in 4 times. 8 times 4 is 32. Subtract those, we get 0. There is no remainder. Our answer is just, it goes in 304 times. Okay? Pause the video, try the last one, and I'll show you the answer. Okay, so you should have gotten 15 with a remainder of 9. You could also write that as 15 and 9 50-seconds. Okay? So remembering that process, we're going to do something very similar to help us divide polynomials. You already know how to multiply, add, and subtract polynomials. You've been doing that for a while. We've done it during class. Division gets a little trickier, which is why we are talking about it last. Okay? So we're going to set it up the same way. We want to divide this polynomial by this one. We're going to write the thing we're dividing by on the outside. We're going to write our division side. We're going to write the thing that is being divided on the inside here. We're going to ask ourselves a very similar question, but we're just going to concern ourselves with that first term there. We're going to say, how many times does m go into m squared? In other words, what do you multiply m by to get m squared? The answer is m. Okay? So then we're going to take this and multiply it by this. So m times m is m squared. But we also need to take the negative 8 and multiply it by the m. Okay? Process overall is the same. We're going to subtract down. M squared minus m squared is 0. Negative 7m minus negative 8m, that's plus 8m, is just m. And we're just going to drag down the minus 11. And we're going to ask ourselves the same question again. what do you multiply m by to get m? Well, you multiply it by positive 1. So then we're going to do m times positive 1, negative 8 times positive 1, and we are going to subtract. M minus m is 0. Negative 11 plus 8 is negative 3. We can't put m into negative 3, so we're done. Our answer is m plus 1 with a remainder of negative 3, and let's write it in the mixed number way. So we're going to write plus, we have a negative 3, and the thing we were dividing by was m minus 8. So you can put your remainder, remember, over whatever you're dividing by. And that is your final answer. Okay? Let's scroll down and do another practice. Or excuse me, flip the page. Okay. So this one's written a little different, but it's still the same idea. We're taking a polynomial and we're dividing it by another polynomial. Let's write our setup here. So we're seeing how many times 4x plus 3 goes into 12x cubed minus 11x squared plus 9x plus 18. Okay? So again, we're going to focus not on this whole thing, but just on this first term and ask, what do you multiply this by to get 12x cubed? And the answer is, well, you multiply 4 by 3, and I'm going to write it over here. You multiply 4 by 3, but then to get the x to an x cubed, you multiply it by 3x squared. Okay, so then we're going to do 4x times 3x squared to get 12x cubed. But we also have to do 3 times 3x squared to get 9x squared. And we're going to subtract down. 12x cubed minus 12x cubed is 0. Negative 11x squared minus 9x squared is negative 20x squared. And then just drag down the other stuff. Goes unchanged. Okay, we're going to ask another question now. We're going to do the same thing, but we're going to say, how many times does 4x go into negative 20x squared? In other words, what do you multiply 4x by to get negative 20x squared? The answer is negative 5x, because 4x times negative 5x is negative 20x squared. Also need to do 3 times negative 5x to get negative 15x. And now we can subtract. Negative 20x squared minus negative 20x squared is 0. 9x plus 15x is 24x. Drag down the 18. Okay, we have to ask another question now. What do you multiply 4x by to get 24x? Well, that's just 6. So add a plus 6. 4x times 6 is 24x. 3 times 6 is 18. We subtract. Goes away. Goes away. We're actually left with nothing, meaning in this case there was no remainder. So our answer, when you do that division, is just you get 3x squared minus 5x plus 6, no remainder. So you don't need to write anything else. Okay? There is one more problem listed here. Let's get it set up together, and then I'm going to want you to finish it and bring it into class tomorrow. We'll start class by going over this, and if you're a little overwhelmed, don't worry. We are going to spend Monday reviewing this, okay, and practicing. So we're taking this, we're dividing it by this. So let's write it out. Seeing how many times x minus 7 goes into x cubed minus 13x squared plus 40x plus 18. Your first question you should ask yourself is, what do you multiply x by to get x cubed? answer, x squared. And I'm actually going to write that over a little bit. Not that it matters that much, but multiply by x squared. So then I got to do x times x squared to get x cubed. Negative 7 times x squared to get negative 7x squared. Subtract. I'm going to leave you there. Okay? So if you could try and finish this up, we'll talk about it first thing on Monday. And again, we'll be practicing this process during class. And that concludes this video.